Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Unknown Armies, Book 1, Play. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this modern role-playing game, where the characters fight the status quo while using occult means to achieve their ends, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about not getting hurt and damage. When it comes to not getting hurt, you have two ways of accomplishing this. The first one is dodging. You are basically inflicting a penalty on the opponent's roll. Depending on your identity and your dodge ability, this penalty could be 10% or maybe 20%, but you don't need to roll. The opponent is going to make that roll with the penalty, but there could be some instances where you need to roll as an active response. Next we have armor. This encompasses anything that you wear that provides a certain level of protection. For example, maybe you are wearing bulletproof clothes. So when you take damage from a firearm, instead of taking the full damage, and I will talk about that later, you would take damage as if that damage came from a non-lethal source, such as punches or kicks. And when it comes to other sources of protection, such as motorcycle helmets, this could provide protection during accidents, car crashes, falls. So it all depends. Armor in general is handled as broad categories. Now when it comes to damage, it depends on the weapon, of course. The Game Master keeps track of damage. This is a big change from most games, but it's a crucial part of the horror that is Unknown Armies. Knowing that you have taken 11 wounds and that you have a wound threshold of 50 is clinical and abstract. Your Game Master should never use numbers to describe injuries, except possibly when the Game Master tells you how many lightning quick jabs your face absorbs. If you take an identity with the feature provides wound threshold, then your wound threshold equals that identity. The wound value in this game is an abstract measure of damage. Now, your wound threshold usually stays the same, unless you've somehow increased it, probably from an identity or possibly from a wizard. When you take wounds equal to 90% of your wound threshold, you fall unconscious. When you reach your wound threshold, you are dead. You can take wounds up to half your wound threshold without feeling like hammered crap, as long as you're in the middle of a fight and hopped up on adrenaline. After the fight, your body crashes and you're likely to barf, pant, tremble, and feel terribly sore. As soon as you take wounds equal to half your wound threshold, 25 wounds in most cases, and remember this is an abstract number, you feel sore and exhausted when you go to bed, and you get up feeling tight, weak, and rickety. When you take wounds equal to or greater than 3/4 of your wound threshold, 38 or more for most people, that is a very dangerous situation, and the Game Master should make it clear that you are badly beat up. When you attack with your bare hands, kicks, or other more non-lethal sources, the damage that you deal is equal to the number that you rolled. So for example, if you rolled 32, you would deal 5 wounds because 3 plus 2, 5. However, if you roll a critical hit, you may choose to kill your opponent or leave that opponent unconscious. When you use melee weapons, this is a very broad category. You basically have modifiers. If the weapon is sharp or piercing, you obtain a modifier. If it's big, you get another modifier. If it's heavy, another modifier as well. So maybe you are wielding a chainsaw. It's heavy, sharp, and big. So you would be dealing plus 9 wounds in total, in addition to the result of your roll. And of course, depending on your success, you may deal even more damage, but if you roll poorly, you may end up dropping the weapon or damaging yourself. So this system of modifiers is very handy to employ any sort of improvised weapon during play. Now, guns in this game are incredibly lethal, very realistic. You deal the damage according to the die roll. So for example, if you rolled 31, you would be inflicting 31 wounds. And if you roll a critical hit, then you deal maximum damage for that weapon. Concerning non-lethal weapons such as electroshock weapons, tear gas and such, they usually apply penalties. It is possible to heal yourself somewhat quickly when compared to more lethal damage, but it's still such a pain to remove the tear gas from your eyes, or waking up after you have been shocked by a stun baton a few minutes ago. Usually, in the case of stun damage, you compare the roll to the character's current wounds, and that determines if the character was knocked unconscious. You can also employ nets and bolos to immobilize or hinder the movement and actions of the target character, unless they are successful in their dodge or fitness roll, or perhaps an identity roll like double jointed or escape artist. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about extreme tactics. I really like the lethality of this role-playing game. It reminds me a bit of another excellent Atlas RPG, Ars Magica. In that game you are powerful wizards, but you can still die to a knife in the dark. And this is the same thing with Unknown Armies. You are powerful occultists, but you can still die from a gunshot or even a nasty blow to the head. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.